What's up? What's up? What's going on, world? Welcome to my podcast. It's just different with Ty, where I talk about sports, social, political issues, you name it, everything under the sun. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. So I have my big bro with me today. It's gonna be a real good, important, inspirational, powerful interview, and we're gonna get right into this and start this off. So, big bro, introduce yourself. Let the world know who you are.
My name is Jahmar Stud Smith. I'm from Peekskill, New York. And yeah, man, we're ready to go.
Okay, all right. So let's get into it. So, I got my notes here because I wrote a lot of stuff down. So, I want to make sure I covered everything, all my bases.
That's a fact.
So tell us about your background and how you grew up.
So I grew up in the very place that we're shooting this right now. I'm in the Heights right now, and it was rough in the 80s, man. I grew up in the 80s, 90s. We was just like, I don't know, it was just real rough, man. Kind of, like, I don't want to say like we knew that we were broke, like we were just having fun and we just happened to be broke. So we kind of like made things happen as we were allowed, like in the environment. So, being out here at that era, like at that stage, it was crucial, man. Like it was a lot of, drugs out here and a lot of violence out here. So, it was a little crazy.
And for those that don't know, when he said the Heights, we're talking about Dunbar. Dunbar Heights, DB, aka the Bat Cave, the Cave, Peekskill, New York. Just in case y'all don't know, all right.
Yes,
So, when you were young, could you talk about your life and having it hard as a child? What did you want to do as a child? All kids have goals of wanting to be, whether if it's a astronaut or whatever.
Right.
Did you have those type of goals as a child?
To be honest, I really didn't have time to really have those dreams, like, because I started hustling when I was 12 years old. So, like having dreams of being a fireman, having dreams of being anything besides a hustler was kind of outlandish at that time because, I was in the street early. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I never had time really to have those dreams.
So, coming up, who was your role models?
Yeah, so my role models was hustlers, man. I had a lot of them, man. It's like too many to name, but there were a lot of dudes in that time that was like, they was getting a lot of money that got rich off of drugs. And I saw them with the cars, the women, the clothes, and I don't know, I wanted that. But, most of all, though, I wanted to take care of my mother. So, and my mom was struggling, man. My mother was on drugs in the 80s, and but she kept jobs, though. And, I saw her struggle, man. I saw when it was time to pay bills, she would have to choose which bill she would let go until that next month. And that was rough. So yeah, I wanted to help her.
So you're at this age where you're young, and do you remember around the age that you started?
Yeah, I started when I was 12. I mean, my homie Yacht, he say it was younger because he's a year older than me. But I mean, just to be safe, I'll say like 86, 87 is when I started hustling.
So you're at this young age, like you said, your role model was the hustlers and seeing them.
Yeah.
And what about that, attracted you to that lifestyle? Was it because it was the money? Was it because, like, what about that really made you say, or it was just a necessity of, or wasn't it, or was it not even that? Was it just like you said, I just need to get money? Because some people, they got their own reasons as
Right,
why
right.
they sell, sell drugs, And then if you could elaborate on that, and also on the side note, while you were selling drugs, did anybody ever tell you at that young age, yo, listen, young man, don't go down that road. This is not for you. Did anyone of your OGs or the guys you look up to ever had that conversation with you?
Yeah, yeah. One of them had the conversation with me. Actually, no, a few of them had the conversation with me, but it was at different stages in my life. So the reason I wanted to hustle is, like I said, I seen the older guys at that time was fly, had a lot of money, had a lot of women, had a lot of, everything. So I wanted that. But mostly I saw my mother struggling. So I felt like, and I don't know what made me feel like that at that age, where I felt like I had to be a man that early. But I saw her struggling, and it didn't feel nice. It didn't feel like I should just be sitting on the sideline watching that. So when my homie Yacht came to me one time, and I didn't know what crack was at that time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? My homie Yacht came, and he was like, yo, we can make money off of this. And he showed me a vial of crack, and I'm like, yo, what the fuck is that? Like, and he was like, yo, man, we can get money off this. This is crack. And I was like, all right. So he showed me move for move how to do a hand-to-hand sale. He showed me. And after that, I was off to the races. Like, yeah.
At that age, did you know the risks that came with selling drugs at that time, at your young age when you started?
Nah, I didn't know any risk of it, because, I mean, at that time, I was just thinking about the pros, like, feel me? I wasn't thinking about the bad stuff that could happen behind those actions. So,
Correct.
Until I got a little bit older, and, some of my OGs was like, yo, listen, bro, this is gonna bring you down a rabbit hole, and you might not be able to climb up out of that. So, you gotta be careful. And, you gotta really think about if this is like what you wanna do.
Correct.
But being young at that moment, there was really nothing nobody could tell me.
So, you're selling drugs, etc. Now let's say, fast forward, you're already in stride, I guess. You kind of know what you're doing. At the height of your, career as far as pertains to selling drugs.
Right.
On a day, on a week, how much was you making a day, or a week at the height of your career when you were selling drugs?
Well, it varied. It varied because one of my homies, he had a joint that was clicking, and when I say a joint, he had a phone that was clicking like over 10 grand a night. Like, it had to be over that. My phone alone was making half of that. But most of the time, he would let me use his, so I would have his phone and mine. And so you saying at the height, I was saying, like, with his phone and mine, I was making over 15 a night, easy. And I'm being generous because his shit was clicking. You know what I'm saying? Way more than mine. So, yeah, at the height, I was making like 15,000 a night. Now, with that being said, all the proceeds wasn't mine because I had to hit him off because he let me use his phone.
Correct.
But I'm just saying, like, you're saying all together at the height of it, man. Yeah, that was And I'm being kind of generous with that number. It could have been more. Yeah.
Mm. So now, here's my thing. When you're in the hood and you're making that type of money, right? Making that type of money, how do you find, like, how do you trust people? You know what I'm saying? In the sense of you're making all that money. How do you know if people's around you because they love you, or people around you because you're making all this money? How can you, it's like, in a sense, you kind of become the prey because you're making all this money. So
Yeah.
how do you learn to deal with people and trust people with all this money you're making, whether if it's women, whatever it is?
Well, trust is a tricky thing, man. Trust is a slippery slope. Because you really don't know who you can trust. And you really shouldn't trust anybody in that environment. So, I mean, I was young and I was kind of navigating things how I felt in that moment. And I made some terrible choices, and I made some choices that made it to where I'm here right now. So, it's you kind of have to have a feel for it, but even with that feel, you could be wrong and your life is in jeopardy, man. A lot of my homies from Peekskill and outside of Peekskill are not here right now because of choices. So, yeah, man.
So you talk about it's hard to trust people. Now, I would say, I look at it like this. You're a big time drug dealer. You're around other drug dealers. You're putting yourself around, like I said, women that you don't know if they really like you for you, or it's because the money of it. You around, you got to watch out for stick up boys, right? You got to watch out for police.
Yeah.
Even your customers, the fiends, that you got to watch out for them because they'll try to set you up.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of people you got to watch out for on a daily basis. Even maybe possibly some people in your inner circle,
Right.
So one would say, why would someone willingly or voluntarily put themselves in that situation on a daily basis? Something has to be wrong with them.
Yeah, I mean, I look back, in retrospect, like, I look back and say something had to be wrong with me, right? But at that time, you're not thinking about that because you feel like you can handle that, even if you can't. Like, some people, and I don't believe in luck, some people are just strictly blessed, man, that things didn't happen that could have happened. Like, I've been in shootouts. I done been in situations where I wasn't supposed to make it. So, and as far as trust, as far as like women, like, you just gotta understand this, right? All you can do as far as a woman is hope that she's halfway okay, or she's halfway on your side, because, man, women are the best at it. They're the best at it. So if they want to snake you or do anything, you gonna be hit, because after a while, you're gonna start trusting them. You're laying in the bed with them. Some is just, look, I'm laying with her and that's it, right? But there are some women that you might start trusting, and they play their role so great that they might line you up. You know what I'm saying? And that's the ills, like, that's the, those are the things those are the risks that you take when you're in the game like this. So, and, as far as like this time, like, you can't even trust your family. You know what I mean? Because there's family members that'll line you up. They'll steal from you. They'll, because they figure, oh, he got it. Let me just rob him real quick. He won't miss
mind.
this, or,
Yeah.
like, they take advantage. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, I mean, it's a filthy way of living, but you have to understand that if you're involved in that, everything is unpredictable.
Mm.
Every aspect of it is unpredictable. So
March 1st, 2004, Operation Big Dog. You remember that day?
yeah, yeah, I remember. Um,
Take me to the events that happened earlier that day.
so so I woke up that morning early. I always woke up really early in the morning. So I remember I went to the store to get breakfast. So I brought breakfast home. Me and my kids and my lady at the time, we ate and we were chilling. And then I I actually heard a vehicle pull up in front because like where I lived at the time, my window was right in the front of my house. So I saw vehicles like skidding like, "Err."
Mm.
So I looked out the window and I saw a mad cop car. So I'm like, what the hell is this? Because me not knowing, like even in the life I was in, like I didn't know that like this was happening. Like you don't know that they're gonna raid or they're gonna do whatever. So I looked out the window and then something told me to go downstairs. So I went out the front door, went down my stairs, and I met them at the door. I opened the door. They had a picture of me like this big, bro. Like it was big. And they was like, "Are you Jahmar Smith?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It was like, "Yeah, you're under arrest." And I'm like, "Okay." Like it was like really just simply that simple. Like I was like, "All right." So they arrested me and I seen the FBI jackets. And in my mind, I'm like, what did I do to them? Like, you know what I'm saying? What are they here for? So it was crazy, man. Like it was a whirlwind because everything after that happened so fast. But before I get any further, one of my homies at that time, they hit my phone before I was right down the steps. So I was actually on the phone with him as I opened the door. He was warning me that this was happening, but I wasn't really, I don't know, I guess I wasn't really understanding that it was happening now. So, yeah, basically he was just trying to warn me and everything, and but it was late, they were there and, it was what it was. Yeah, so.
Now, this is a side question. If you had the chance, if you knew beforehand, if he had warned you maybe 5 minutes before they actually came, would you have said, yo, whatever, would you have booked off and try to run away, go to another country, Because me, I'm like, yo, man, y'all catch me when, listen, man, gingerbread, man, catch me when you can, or would you, was that, did you ever think about that going in your head? Like, oh, I would have ran if I'd have knew further, or I'd have just still stood there and took whatever was whatever.
Well, now here's the thing with that. I thought about that on either side, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, had I ran, eventually I would have got caught, right? And who knows how old I would have been when I got caught, which would have made me older when I did my bid and came home. But then on another side, I'm like, yo, I should have just ran. And yeah, like, I don't care. Like, I'm going to just run. I had, a little bread. I could have got right up out of here. But yeah, man, I mean, like, we can always say, man, what we would have did, what we could have did. But, God made it happen that way for a reason. So,
right.
Yeah.
So now while you're in in the county jail. You went to the county jail
Yeah.
first, or they took you somewhere. You can explain. They took you somewhere first. I think they held you somewhere first. They held you guys somewhere first. What was going through your head at that time when you like, damn, I'm arrested by like the feds actually, like the feds got me. What was going through your mind at that time?
So once they arrested us, they built a substation right up at, where was that substation? They built the substation like right near the shopping center right on Main Street, right on East Main Street. So they had us there for a minute doing a lot of the processing, a lot of the paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
So so they were they had us there, and it was all of us there. Even the dudes who ratted and all that, and those guys' names I won't, mention. I don't want to give them any kind of light. But so we were there first. They processed everybody. I remember one distinct thing is when they walked me in there, there was one agent, and he was like, oh yeah, he said, yo, damn, this is Stud? This is the guy that they was speaking of? And I was a little dude then. I weighed about 180 pounds, if that. I was shorter then. And he was like, yo, the way they talk about you, it was like, I thought you was like 8 feet tall. You know what I'm saying? And I in my heart, I laughed, but I didn't want to laugh out loud because I didn't want them to see me smiling or nothing. You know what I'm saying? But it was funny that he said that. And I was like, yo, that's crazy. Like, that's when I knew dudes was telling. But you don't know who at the time. But it was like, damn, because like the way he said that, like, yo, the way they spoke about you, I would have thought you was 8 feet tall. And I'm like, damn, that's crazy. So at that time, I was just like, man, what was going through my mind was, yo, I'm in for a long ride.
So did you ever think, and to yourself, did it ever come to your mind? You look around, you already saying you probably, I don't know if you did have a little inkling of dudes might wanting to fold. You're in it with the feds. You always hear feds got a 98% conviction rate. When they come, they ain't playing. They giving football numbers and all these other things. Did it ever come to your mind? Did you ever look around and say, look, I got to save myself. I ain't trying to do whatever type of years. I may want to cooperate. Did that ever, or as you say, play for Team USA, did that ever come to your mind at all?
Nah, man. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, man. Like, I never thought about that at all because my mindset is always there's another way out other than that. Like, know what I'm saying? And my thing was I was going to get in the law library and do everything I could to try to help myself. I didn't know how wicked federal law is, and how much they cheat and they lie and they just have a lot of shit with them, man. And so yeah, man, I mean, yeah, I never thought of that because that's not in me. You know what I'm saying? In order for you to play for Team USA, that had to be in you already. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't just think of that right there, right? That, like, you've had to already have that in you to a point where before you got locked up, you said, if shit gets critical, I'm gonna save myself. And I never thought like that, you know?
Mm-hmm. So now while you in there, how confident, because now it's a reality check, right? You in there, you're in there amongst your peers or the people you were with. How confident or sure you were of your other, you know, friends or counterparts, whatever, that they had that mind frame as well. Like, yo, we just gonna hold it down. That's not even in us.
Um, so you can never be 100% sure of anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they might have felt that way about me. I mean, I'm sure at least one of them felt that way about me as well. But you see, as time goes by, who's who. See, in the situations like this, only time is going to reveal who's who, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you could think anything you want. But there was people I was willing to bet my house on, right? Lid, I was willing to bet my house on, right?
Yeah.
WAP, I was willing to bet my house on. Willie, I was willing to bet my house on. You know what I'm saying? Them three right there, for sure, I was willing to bet my house on. Now, more so back then, I didn't even think about the younger brothers in that light either, because, you know, they were stand-up dudes as well. You know, Ray and Yusuf, I never even thought about them in that light. But I'm talking about significantly me saying, look, I'll lose it all. I'm willing to bet everything. Wop, Lid, and Willie, there's no way on the planet that they was going to go left.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
So that was those dudes I was willing to bet it on. But there were other people that I felt confident in that, you know, end up going the other way.
And how did that make you feel when you seen dudes that you were with who you felt confident in, you know, turn, you know, become Team USA and started, you know, cooperating with the government?
I mean, I wasn't overly surprised because one of them, you know, I felt like that about him in the street. Excuse me. And I was never around him anyway.
Yeah.
But other dudes that I was around, they used to be around him. And I kind of felt like he's a nail in the coffin type of guy in the street. So, shit, I wasn't surprised about him. I mean, there was another dude that, you know well, and I'm not going to mention his name. Him, I wasn't surprised, but I was hurt because this is a dude that I grew up with, per se, more than the others. And he let me down. I feel he let himself not just let me down, he let the whole hood down, and he let himself down because, you know, he was the type of guy that you would think was like, yo, this dude, you know what I'm saying, he gonna hold up. But then again, you got mafia bosses snitching on the underlings.
Exactly.
So it's, you know, it's like nothing's never a surprise. You know?
So my thing is, you have guys, and not only guys who you were with, but there were guys that you had issues with, coming to find out while your trial was going on, that you had beefs with, that also was telling on y'all, and specifically telling on you.
Yeah.
And there was an incident where, you know, part of your plea, right, when you plea, when, you know, you had to talk about an incident with a shooting or something along that sense or whatever, and say, hey, I did this, whatever have you, and
Yeah.
you know, this one individual, again, we're gonna leave the person nameless, but they was also working with the police and telling them, hey, listen, you know, Stud did this, Stud did that, this one did that, blah, blah. Now, how did that make you feel in that aspect too? Because it's different from hanging with your friends and then the dude who you beefing with, where they do something, you keep it 100, and then now you do something back, and then now they want to tell
Right.
police.
Well, yeah, that I can't lie, right? I mean, I was more surprised of him.
Yeah, because he was super gangster. He played the super gangster
Yeah,
role.
because he played the gangster role. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was funny because when the incident, you know, when the alleged incident first happened, right? He called my phone, and I'd be laughing about this. Me and a couple of my guys laughed about this. It was funny, like, he called my phone and said, well, if you don't give me 10,000 right now, I'ma snitch on you. So I'm like, nigga, I got 10,000 in both of my pockets right now. Snitch. I'm not giving you a motherfucking thing. You know what I mean? And he snitched. But before that, before anything ever happened, he was like acting like he was the toughest motherfucker this side of the river, man. Like, it was crazy. Yo, I'm from Brooklyn, you little town niggas, this and that, and I'm just like, okay, I mean, he must not know that there's gangsters everywhere.
Correct.
Right? So, you know, long story short, man, some things allegedly happened, man, and, you know, he changed his tune, you know, so that was that, and he changed his tune because he got caught with a bulletproof vest. So to keep from being violated on that, and also, you know, catching a new charge, he agreed to kind of do the thing. So, you know, it is what it is, man. You know.
When I look at your case, right, and I read your case, I see something interesting in there that you talk about as far as with your lawyer, right? Because you know, again, all these things are coming out.
Right.
You know, like you said, the government, they lie, they cheat. I'm pretty sure they was having people you've never even seen before and saying, yeah, he did this, he did that, because you hear those stories. It's the stories you hear.
Right.
I know there was something in your file, in your case, where you were saying about being, you know, coerced or to a plea or something to that sense. Can you speak on that?
Yeah. So the attorney that I had at that time, he, you know, a lot of those attorneys that they appoint you are really working for the opposition.
Correct.
They're thinking of the fastest way to get you a plea, right? So when he would come and visit me, he would only talk about a plea deal. Oh, well, you don't want to play with them because this is what you could get and this and that. And I'm trying to tell him I don't care. There's certain things that need to be handled before I take a plea. Now, I was never opposed to taking a plea for what I did. I'll take my plea and roll out. That's a fact. I stood up. I ain't never told on nobody. So if I take my plea and roll out, then that's what it is. But there were certain matters. In my case, I'm going to speak on me. There was a firearm that was found in my home. And I wanted that firearm suppressed because they coerced my lady at the time to let them search when they wasn't supposed to search. They only had a warrant for me. And when they have a specific warrant for your person, they're not supposed to search the premises. I didn't know this until after, but the law is still open. You gotta honor that. I'm gonna make you honor that.
Correct.
Long story short, he was giving me a hard time about trying to fight to get the weapons suppressed and things of that nature. So finally, We did the motion, the weapon was suppressed. And then, you know, I felt like he was like pressuring me into a plea. So in them situations, I can't do what I want to do. I wanted to slap the shit out of him, you know, right? But I can't do that. So I had to let the judge know in open court on the record, like, listen, this dude coerced me. He's trying to coerce me into taking a plea. Like, this is something that is unethical. Like, you're supposed to fight.
Correct.
If I want to fight. If I don't want to fight, then that's cool. But if I want to fight, you're supposed to fight. And that was the issue with that lawyer. So, yeah.
Was there any point where the judge was trying to, or I don't want to say the judge, but the DA was trying to trump charges on you and trying to do things to get you the death penalty or life in prison, just making up stuff, saying, yo, we just gonna charge, there's something happened in Omaha, Nebraska, we're gonna charge you with that too. You know, were there anything like that going on, or?
I mean, nah, not with me. I mean, they did a couple of superseders though. They superseded me a couple of times, as they did with a few of us, right? With charges that were like outrageous. But as far as like bringing charges from other states and things like that, nah, they never did that with us. Well, with me specifically. But yeah, they you know, they trump charges up all the time, bro. Like, they lied and said that they was watching us from 1995. And I won't say why, but we know that wasn't true at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's an inside joke in between me and the dudes that I can actually speak about with that. Because if you was watching me since then, it'd probably be open and closed. The case would be open and closed.
So moving on. So now, when it's said and done, you get your sentence. The judge sentenced you to what?
So the judge originally sentenced me to 168 months. I wind up doing 188. And so yeah, it was because of a mishap with my state sentence that ended up making me do the whole 188, because 168 is what I got sentenced to, and so I got only one shot, and a shot is a write-up.
Yeah.
Since I was, you know, in the joint, and but that's not why. I mean, it was just a mishap with my state case. My federal judge ran my federal time concurrent with my state case. I was sentenced in my state case before my federal. So the state was supposed to honor that, take me downstate, get me processed, and then put me back in the feds. They never did that. So by them not processing me and putting me back in the feds, it kind of ran my sentence in the state wild. So I had a 4 to 9 in the states. So now, with them not processing me and bringing me back to the feds, that 4 to 9 was ran wild instead of ran concurrent. So wild means, for those that don't know, it was running consecutive instead of concurrent as it was ordered from my judge. So that's kind of how I wind up doing more time than I was originally supposed to.
So now, while you in prison, you're in federal prison now, how did you, or you're in a new lifestyle and you gotta adapt to this, because this is gonna be your lifestyle, your home for the foreseeable future for some time. Were you scared going in prison? Was it hard to adapt, you know, to this new lifestyle?
Yeah, it was really hard because, you go from doing what you want to having to ask somebody to open up a cell. Like, that's tough, right? And as far as being scared, yes, I was scared, right? Because we know this, right? And for those who don't know, I'm explaining how I view it. Fear is an emotion that can be viewed or seen two ways. Now, you can be afraid and you can hide, or you can be afraid and let your fear fuel you into making sure that you keep yourself safe, right? So my fear, me being the action type of person, my fear was I harnessed my fear and made myself make sure that I was safe by any means, right? Now, you have to understand, I went from Valhalla to one of the worst United States penitentiaries in the country.
Where was that at?
Right? It was USP Hazleton in West Virginia. So it was a place where like murders happen frequently. Motherfucker don't care who you was or who you are. You have to prove it now. Like, a lot of these guys, they tough guys, man. But when you get there, you could have killed 100 people. You got to kill 101 for that one to understand. It's not like you can bluff your way through, right? Guys are bluffing, they poking their chest out. I'll do this, I'll do that. You can't bluff your way through those joints. And anybody that has been in those USPs or any USP will tell you, you can't bluff your way through there. Like, you got to prove it. So, yeah, man, it was rough. And the bottom line is, yes, I was very afraid, but I turned my fear into what I needed to fuel me.
So it's said that when you're from New York, no matter if you're from Peekskill, no matter if you're from Buffalo, no matter if you're from the Bronx or whatever, it's said that when you go into the feds, anywhere in the country, and you coming in, you're from New York, certain people that are from different cities, different states, feel a certain type of way about New Yorkers and want to test them because of Alpo. This is what you hear. Is that true? Did you ever have to say, yo, nah, I ain't, did you ever have to experience that? Did you hear stories about that or what?
Well, I heard stories. I mean, I never particularly had to speak up on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, New York is hated by a lot of people, man, and they don't care what part of New York you're from, man. But there's some cool dudes though too. So, it's kind of like, New York niggas though, they like, we're hated off the strength. I mean, Alpo might have did something to add on, but, it's just, New Yorkers are considered arrogant.
Yeah.
New Yorkers are considered rude. So, a lot of people really don't really like us, man. And, that was on them. But, but ultimately, if you're a person that, if you be yourself, people are going to judge you as a man. They're going to respect you as a man if you act like a man. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
So there could be misconceptions, but if those misconceptions prove not to be something that is attached to you, then it's like, okay, dudes start being like, all right, yo, he a man, he on man shit. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So how did the guards treat the inmates, or specifically you while you was in there?
I had maybe one issue with the officers. Like one major issue. And other than that, it was just little nicky knack stuff, and I had to write them up and stuff, and I wrote them up bad, and then they started backing off of me. Like, you know what I'm saying? I send stuff to Washington, I'm writing, and the police, they'll come in and be like, "Yo, Smith, man, why you had to write me up, man?" I'm like, man, listen, I wasn't playing with them, like, you know what I'm saying? Because you can't do nothing to them, really. Well, you could. You could. Let me take that back. You can. But I seen light at the end of the tunnel, so I was trying to go home. So I bust my pen to make sure that they kind of left me alone. Like, they fear you more when you write than if if you put your hands on them. You know what I'm saying?
So while you're in there, fast forward years, you're in there. I know you've done a lot of good things for people down Dunbar. A lot of things for a lot of people, family. You help a lot of people, families out financially, and did other things. And not only here, but throughout the town, throughout the city.
Mm-hmm.
Now, while you're in there, all of the people that you helped out, done good by, paid their rent, whatever it was, all the people you helped out, did any of them, and I'm excluding family, there's not family, I'm just talking about the just regular people, did any of those people ever come to see you, ever write you, ever put money on your books and say, "Yo, listen, man, I remember what you did, I just want to make sure you're safe, it's all I can afford, it's only $10, but this is all I can do." Anything, anybody that that, again, excluding family, that looked out for you while you was in there?
Not many. And I want to make this clear too. I'm not mad at nobody, right? Just because I'm in prison, life goes on. And but the one person I can remember, and of course I won't say his name, he was a drug addict. He was a crackhead, right? So he saw my brother. Now, mind you, this was a dude at that time that was actively using drugs. He gave my brother $100. Said, "Yo, Stud was always good to me, man. Here." You know what I'm saying? Tell him I don't got much, but here. He gave my brother $100. And when my brother told me who it was, I was like, he's smoking though, right? He was like, "Yeah, he's still smoking. I mean, he looks like it." But he was like, "Nah, Stud was always good, man." And that made me feel good. Like, that made my heart smile, because a lot of people that I helped, and I didn't do it to say that I helped them. A lot of people was like, "All right, he's gone. Life moves on, and that's cool." But the people that think about you, like, you appreciate it. I mean, listen, there was people in my circle. There was a person in my circle who I risked my life for, that was envious and, hateful of me the whole time, and I didn't even know it. So you really don't ever know who's who, man. But,
So one of the people that I know that made sure you was all right, from Peekskill, Elton Brand. And for those that don't know, Elton Brand was the #1 high school player, basketball, went to Duke University, #1 draft pick, come from Dunbar as well. You said he dunked on this court right here. This is the first time he dunked on this basketball court.
Yep.
Tell me what it's like to have someone that like to be famous or you know who he was at that time or that stature to still be by your side despite all of the things that you were convicted of?
Well, that felt great, man. Like, I mean, yo, Elk stuck with me my whole bid, yo. The whole 15 years, he was there. You know what I mean? Me and him grew up out here together. I'm older than Elton. But yeah, man, you know, he a good dude. He came and visit me, and you know, any time during my bid that I needed him, he was there. So, you know, that felt great, man. You know, my man Mel, you know, he was there too. You know what I'm saying? So you know, it was an experience because you know he would at that time, you know, he was hot. He was hot. So you know he would come visit me in the visiting room, shut down, and it was crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it was cool though, man. You know, it was cool to know that your man still loved you, man, and still, you know, had your back and shit. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
yeah, that's my guy.
So now you're getting close to the term of your release date, right? And now you're thinking about how am I gonna now? I've been used to this lifestyle in prison for so long,
Yeah.
and now I'm thinking about, or did you think about adjusting, coming into society, trying to make right for the wrongs you did, or was your mind state was, yo, I'm coming home and I'm getting right back in the streets. I got to make up for what I lost, you know, for the lost time. What was your mind state?
So my mindset was like I was gonna come out here and change it up. You know, I had enough of that lifestyle. I think unconsciously, when I got arrested, I breathed a sigh of relief because I was tired.
Mm.
You know what I mean? You got to understand, I started early. I started hustling early in life. So I think I was tired, man. And I hate to say this, man, but I think I needed that. Because if it wasn't for that, something more tragic might have happened with the lifestyle I was living.
Mm.
Right? So my mindset was I was gonna change, and I was gonna, even if I had to struggle, I was gonna do the right thing because I left here and my children were small children. I came home, one of my kids was grown up. One of them was going into high school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you think about that if you're any kind of parent at all, like not just saying me or you or whoever, if you're any kind of parent at all, you think about that, right? Like that's one of your priorities if you love your children, right?
Correct.
So, you know, I knew I had to change it up. And if I didn't, then I was gonna wind up worse than what I left. So I kind of consider myself a smart person. So I think like I understood the magnitude of this chance of my next chapter. So with my next chapter looming, I'm like, okay, you got to get it together because now, you know, you got children, they're going to depend on you. And you have to make things right for yourself. And then you owe your community, you owe as well because like you got to understand you've done so much stuff to harm them. Even though you help them as well, you could say arguably you harmed your community more than you helped it. So yeah, man, I didn't have a choice in my mind.
Okay. So do you remember your release date, and how was that? Do you still remember your release date, the day you got released? What it felt like, and how did how did you get released?
So yeah, my release date was February 27th, 2017. And I actually got released from a state facility because my federal time was up. So they transferred me to the state to start my state bid. And I filed some motions in the state. Charlie Dabbs actually helped me with that as well. So we filed some motions. I was supposed to do a 4 to 9 after I got out of the feds, though. See, that's the critical part, right? But with the motions, they let me out 1 year after I got to the state. So it was just like, man, it was euphoric, man, like to be walking out of a prison after all that time. You know what I mean? I went in young and I came out old, but there was a lot of wisdom and lessons learned under my belt at that time. Yeah, it was beautiful though.
So now you're finally free. Welcome home. But you're a convicted violent felon, right? You got a long rap sheet. The whole city knows who you are. Was it hard trying to find a job, and did you have any type of support system of people trying to help you and say, hey, this man made a mistake, but we want to make sure he's given a second chance?
Yeah, I mean, I had a big support system that doesn't always translate into, okay, you're going to have a job or you're going to be okay living with somebody else. I mean, I came home and I lived with my uncle. So my uncle is the only person that kept me from going into a shelter. So I had my uncle, my Aunt Linda. These were support systems. See, my Aunt Linda took care of my son while I was in prison. That was huge because the situation that he was in was not a great one at all. So her being able to grab him was everything. You know what I mean? Then my uncle being able to grab me straight out of prison and me live with him until I got myself straight was huge. So the other people that played a role in me, getting the job that I have now was, you. I'm not going to mention the other person because I don't know if he wants his name mentioned on here.
That's cool.
Regarding that. But yeah, man, I had huge help, man, and it was beautiful, man, because it like real talk, man, like having those hookups, man, and having the connections that I had helped me get in position.
So now, when you came home, now I know you said Elton looked out for you, was there with you every single step of the way. How much was he a part of the transition of you making sure that you were straight as far as, I'm not talking about money wise or here, go shopping, get some clothes. I'm talking about making sure you got a job or anything like that, or, yo, look, man, I don't know at that time if he was general manager for the Philly at the time, 76ers, but, it's been said, to be honest, some people have said, yo, why didn't he just take stud and just be like, yo, come on, yo, I got you a janitor job, and, being a janitor in the arena in Philly, or I got you this and that and that. This is what you hear. So I got to ask as to what role was he a part of? Was he trying to help, or did he play a role into trying to get you a job after you came home, or what?
So Elk played a huge role in the job that I have now, though.
Okay.
Right? Being honest with you. Right? So, but aside from that, he got me an interview at Rock Nation when I first came home. So, for those that don't know, Elk and Jay-Z, they alright. Like they pretty alright. So he got me an interview at Rock Nation. So I went to the interview at Rock Nation, and they liked me. Like they wanted to mess with me. But at the time, Rock Nation was making a transition. Now, I don't know exactly the particulars of what was happening within Rock Nation because I wasn't an insider in there for me to know, right? So, but yeah, so he got me an interview there. And as far as why he didn't take me with him, I'm gonna be honest with you, like, I'm a prideful person, so like what he did for me and then the role he had in helping me with the job that I have now, along with yourself, I felt like what he did for me was sufficient. I felt like from there I could grab it and run with it. Like take the baton and run with it. So that's how I felt. I mean, now I know some people have asked me like, yo, bro, like, he could have, but I don't think of it like that. I think like, I'm a man, and that man helped me. He doesn't owe me anything. He doesn't owe me anything. You know what I'm saying? And anything that he helped me with, he did it out of his heart. You know what I mean?
Correct. All right. So now, you talk about support system. It wasn't the support system. When you have in the city a Peekskill job. But I'm sure everyone wasn't happy for you as far as getting the city job. I'm pretty sure people might have brung up your record, or people might have said, hey, what about me? Or, well, what about, this one or that one? How did you feel about that when you was hearing those things of, that I'm trying to trying to turn my life around, and it still seemed like the same community that, like you said, you did do some good and whatever have you. Now I'm really trying to do 100% good. Now they have an issue with me wanting to get a job.
Yeah, so I mean, I accept hate well, right? So I'll give people the benefit of the doubt even when they don't deserve it, like, right?
Yeah.
So there were people that were hating on me that were smiling in my face, and that's life, right? I mean, you can say, well, I have the power, I have the people to say, well, look, anybody who hated on me, I could feel some type of way, and I can, say, all right, I'm gonna act up. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do something to you. Where does that get me? Right? There were actually people who were begging me to do something to the people who was hating on me. Right? But where does that get me? Right? So I just say, man, listen, I turn the cheek and I just be like, you know what, man? People are gonna hate, and they feel how they feel. You can't get me out of this job. As long as my check come, I'm cool.
Correct. And how did being employed, how did your coworkers treat you? Because pretty much everyone knew who you were. If they didn't know you personally, they knew about you. They talked. where they saying, no, I don't want to work with this guy, or they just accepted you as another, human being, or, you don't got to, I know certain things you can't say, so
Right.
don't let's not get into that. We're just talking about as far co-workers, that we work with down at the, down at the job.
Like, I mean, in my face, you know how that go, Ty, man. In my face, everything is everything.
Everything is everything.
I mean, I've heard the stuff that was said behind my back. I laugh at it because my thing is this, man. I ration that like this. As long as you respect me in my face, I can't control what you say behind my back, so I don't care, right? And I heard he's a murderer, he's a drug dealer. Why? Damn, they're hiring murderers now. They're hiring drug dealers now. I heard it all, man. But at the end of the day, they respect me to my face, and I ain't gonna have it no other way.
Okay. So, what does it mean for you to how you grew up, and then how you had it, the responsibility you had to, take on at such a young age, go through the prison system, get a second chance at life, want to know that, hey, I want to do something positive,
right?
To get a great, a great job, have a good career, retirement system, everything, buy a home and everything else. What does that mean to you?
I mean, it means the most, man. I mean, but most of all, like what I hope it means and what I hope it shows is that the young people can see that you can make a mistake. Now, you don't want to intentionally make certain mistakes, right? And hopefully you learn from your mistakes and don't repeat them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it shows them that you can make a mistake and you can get a second chance and you can learn how to live in the society without the activities that led you to make your mistakes, right? Because we're creatures of habit most of the time. But there's certain habits that you understand you can't repeat.
Correct.
So hopefully my story will help young people understand that there is light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're still alive, there's light. And you can always change. And you can always make that change. Or you can always live out what was truly in your heart. Like, my mother didn't raise me to be a drug dealer and a accused murderer or anything like that. She didn't raise me like that. I was always good in my heart, right? But I had to adapt to my environment, right? So some people are blessed to be able to live it out, make the mistakes, and come back and make right with it.
So there's a kid right now that's watching this, growing up in the same environment, same conditions as you, where he feel like at a young age he got to take all he got all these choices and decisions to make, and he wants to sell drugs. He's watching this. What would your message to him be right now, or she, or to that person, that individual?
So my message to all of the young people that might feel like this is like the life that I led at one time is an option, right? You got to consider a lot of things. So the times that I was living in the 80s, in the early 90s, up into the 2000s, right? So it was a different time that I grew up in, right? The times you're growing up in now, everything is on camera. That's number one. So you got to understand there's programs and things now that I didn't have back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not making any excuses. I mean, I had opportunities as well, just very slim to none then. But the opportunities that's afforded now are much bigger and give much more opportunity than the ones that I had. And with that not being an excuse, you should always try to veer into those type of programs to help you, and usually they'll help your family as well nowadays. So, I would steer you more towards that. I ain't want to preach to anybody or make it seem like I'm holy in any way. I make a ton of mistakes still now, but I try to make the smallest ones and try not to repeat them. So, that's where I would lead you. I would kind of steer you that way rather than to be in an environment where you feel that you would have to sell drugs, because nowadays the system is designed to hurt us, specifically, black people. And we might say, well, it's too late in the years to still be thinking like that, but it's a reality. They revamped their ways of hurting us, so that it's more undercover now. And, some of it is blatant, but, I would steer you more towards, man, trying to get in programs that'll help you, man, and so that you don't have to live that life, because it's much harder to live that life now.
And this is the last question, big bro, and I'm going to get you out of here on this. What do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to be remembered by?
So I don't have any big I don't have any big hopes for my legacy, because I'm not a selfish type of individual. But at the end of the day, I do want my legacy to be that people understand that I love my people, and that anything that I can do, I will. Any way that I can help anybody, I will. And I want people to understand that when I helped them back then, when I had a whole bunch of money and this and that, it was genuine. I just want people to realize that, like, all of my work that I did helping others was genuine.
Bro, big bro, appreciate you, love you. Thank you for coming on here, giving your time and, giving your story on here. I love you, man.
Yes,
and,
sir, man.
like I said, I hopefully your story can touch and reach kids right now that are going through the same thing or thinking about going down that road. They know that, hey, I seen Stud's story and I don't think I'm ready for that, you know. So I appreciate you, love you.
You already know, man.
So
again,
we down here live down at Dunbar. Any last words you want to say?
Nah, man, peace.
It's just different with time. Peace.